When the power goes out in a long winter blackout, trying to heat the whole house is usually a losing fight. The smarter move is to pick one small room and turn it into a warm, controlled space you can actually maintain. In this video, I'll show you a beginner-friendly, step-by-step way to seal drafts, shrink the space you're heating, insulate the right surfaces, and add warmth safely using what you already have at home, without risky shortcuts that can lead to fires or carbon monoxide problems. Number 1. Pick the room. The first move in a long winter blackout is deciding you're not heating a whole home anymore. You're protecting one small space. A smaller room warms faster, loses heat slower, and needs less fuel and less effort. Look for a room with 4 solid walls, a real door that shuts, and as little glass as possible. A small bedroom, office, or spare room usually beats a big living room, an open plan area, or anything with tall ceilings. If you have a choice, pick a room that sits closer to the middle of the building, because interior walls are usually warmer than outside walls. Carpet helps, but you can work around hard floors. One window is better than 2, and a normal window is easier to deal with than a sliding door. Also think about the boring stuff that matters after the first few hours. How close it is to a bathroom, where your water is, and whether you can safely cook or heat water without turning your warm room into a smoke problem. Once you choose, commit to it. Close doors to every other room and treat the rest of the house like storage. This is the mental shift most beginners miss in emergency preparedness. The goal isn't comfort everywhere, it's a safe core temperature somewhere. Before you start building the warm room, do one quick sweep and bring in what you'll want within reach so you're not constantly opening the door. Pull in blankets, sleeping bags, extra clothes, towels, a flashlight or lantern, spare batteries, your phone and power bank, any battery radios, your first aid kit, important medications, water, and shelf-stable food you can eat without cooking if needed. If you have kids, elderly family, or anyone with health issues, they belong in the warm room early, not after everyone is already chilled. If you have pets, plan for them too, because a cold pet is a heat loss and a stress problem. If you're a beginner prepper, this step alone is a big prepper tip. Choose the room before you start improvising. The sooner you stop trying to save the house, the more heat you keep where it counts. Number 2, shut the rest down. Now you make the rest of the home stop stealing your heat. Start simple. Close every interior door. If you have doors that don't latch well, use a chair, a hook, or even a rolled towel to help keep them snug. Close curtains and blinds everywhere, even in rooms you're not using, because it slows heat loss through glass and reduces drafts moving through the house. If you have central heating vents, the system may be off, but the ductwork can still act like a tunnel for warm air to drift away from your chosen room. If you can close vent dampers, do it in the rooms you're not using. If you can't, you can block vents with cardboard and tape in unused spaces. Keep it neat and safe so nothing falls onto a heat source later. If there's a fireplace in another room that won't be used, make sure the damper is closed when it's not actively burning, because an open flue can pull warm air out of the house like a chimney fan. If you're using a fireplace or wood stove in your warm room, that's a different situation, but for unused fireplaces, closed is usually better. Next, think about traffic. Every time you open your warm room door, you dump warm air and invite cold air in. So treat trips like errands, not wandering. Do fewer trips, do them fast, and close doors behind you. If you need something from another room, go once, carry a bag, and bring back multiple items. If you're prepping for beginners, this is a good rule to practice even when the power is on. Less movement between zones means less heat loss and less chaos. Also decide where people will sleep and where shoes and wet outer layers will go. You don't want snow, damp socks, or wet jackets spreading moisture into your warm space, because damp air feels colder and damp fabric robs heat fast. Set a simple, cold gear corner near the door with a towel under it. If someone comes in from outside, outer layers come off there, and dry layers go on. That keeps the warm room more stable and easier to manage for days, not just hours. Number 3, seal the leaks. Draft control is the cheapest heater you'll ever use, because you're not creating heat, you're stopping it from escaping. Start with the door. The gap at the bottom is usually the biggest leak, so block it with a rolled towel, a spare blanket, or a hoodie you can sacrifice. If you have a proper draft stopper, great, but improvised works fine. Then check the sides and top of the door. If you feel cold air moving, you can tape along the edges with painter's tape or masking tape, especially at night, and peel it off during the day if you need to open the door often. Next is the window. Your goal is to trap a still air layer against the glass, because still air insulates better than moving air. If you have plastic window film, use it. If you don't, use what you have. A clear plastic drop cloth, a shower curtain liner, a large trash bag cut open, even packing plastic. Tape it to the wall around the window frame, not just the cold frame itself, so you create a sealed pocket of air. If you can also close curtains over that, even better. If you don't have curtains, hang a blanket over the window area, but try to leave a little air gap between the blanket and the glass, because fabric pressed flat against cold glass loses heat faster. Now check outlets on exterior walls. In older homes, you can feel cold air at outlets and switches. If you have spare outlet sealers, great. If not, you can tape over the faceplate edges. It's not pretty, but it reduces air movement. Also check any bathroom fans, range hoods, or vents that connect to outside air. You may not be in those rooms, but if they're left open, they can increase the draftiness of the whole structure. Keep in mind, you still need safe ventilation when you're using any combustion device, so don't seal a room airtight and then run a flame inside it. The idea is to control drafts, not eliminate fresh air completely. A tight room with planned ventilation is safer than a leaky room that still builds fumes. While you're doing this, set yourself up for a fast door routine. Keep a blanket near the door that you can pull around you if you need to step out. Keep a flashlight by the door. Keep shoes ready. This sounds basic, but in a long blackout, simple routines reduce mistakes, and mistakes in cold weather cost a lot of heat. Number 4, build a smaller warm zone. Even inside a small room, you can make an even smaller occupied bubble. And that's where the real comfort comes from. Heat rises, so the warmest air collects near the ceiling, which doesn't help you much if you're sitting and sleeping low. Bring the ceiling down by creating a room within a room. You can do this with a tent, an indoor pop-up, or a simple blanket canopy. Run a line from one side of the room to the other using rope, paracord, a belt, or strong cord. Then drape blankets or sheets over it to create a low roof above your sleeping and sitting area. If you have a bunk bed, the top bunk is naturally warmer because it sits higher, and you can curtain it in for an even tighter space. If you don't have a bunk bed, you can use a table as a frame and throw blankets over it, making a low shelter that traps warmth. The point isn't style, it's reducing air volume. A human body at rest puts out roughly the heat of a small light bulb. In a huge space, that heat disappears. In a small sheltered volume, it adds up. Keep your sleeping setup away from exterior walls and away from the window. Those surfaces act like a cold sponge that pulls heat out of you. If you can, put your mattress against an interior wall instead. If you're on an air mattress, be careful. Air mattresses can feel cold because air circulates inside them. If that's your only option, put thick insulation under it, like folded blankets, foam pads, or even flattened cardboard covered by fabric. Also, think about how you sit during the day. Sitting on the floor drains heat through contact. Set up a chair, a pile of cushions, or a folded comforter to sit on. If you have to sit on the floor, build a seat pad using several layers: cardboard, towel, blanket. Now connect this to the rest of the plan. Once you have a smaller warm zone, you can warm that zone with safer, lower output heat sources and get a noticeable effect, instead of wasting effort trying to change the temperature of the entire room. This is one of those prepping hacks that's actually just basic physics. Less air to warm, fewer surfaces to lose heat through, and less draft moving around. Number 5, insulate what you touch. Heating works better when you stop losing heat through direct contact. Start with the floor, because cold floors quietly drain energy all day. Layer rugs, blankets, spare towels, yoga mats, foam pads, or cardboard under your main area. Cardboard is underrated in emergency preparedness. It traps air, It's light and it's everywhere. Just keep it away from open flames or hot surfaces. Next, deal with the coldest wall, usually the exterior wall or the wall with the window. Push furniture against it if you can, like a dresser, bookshelf, or even stacked storage bins. Furniture adds thickness and traps air, which slows heat loss. If you have extra blankets, hang them behind the furniture or drape them over it to create a soft insulation layer. Even a line of packed bags, folded clothes, or spare pillows along the wall helps. For your sleeping setup, think in layers, because layers trap air and trapped air is the insulator. Under you, mattress or pad, then insulation, then a top sheet or blanket. Over you, a base blanket, then another, then a quilt or sleeping bag. 2 medium layers often feel warmer than 1 heavy layer because they create more air pockets. If you have an emergency reflective blanket, it can help, but use it smart. Reflective material works best when it reflects your radiant heat back, and it can also trap moisture. Put it as an outer layer or as a liner near the outside of your sleep system, not directly against your skin. And don't place it near flames, heaters, or anything hot because some materials can melt or become a fire hazard. For windows, if you can't seal perfectly, add a second barrier. Plastic for the air gap, then a blanket or curtain as a wind block. For the door, if it's a big heat leak, hang a blanket over the door like a curtain, leaving enough room to open it. That gives you a soft airlock that reduces heat loss when you go in and out. Keep the warm zone tidy enough that nothing touches a heat source and nothing can fall onto one. In cold weather prepping, fires start because people get desperate and start stacking fabric too close to something hot. Your insulation should be effective, not risky. A good rule is to keep a clear, no clutter zone around anything that produces heat, even if it feels like you need every inch of space. Number 6, add safe heat and keep air clean. Without power doesn't have to mean without heat, but the heat source matters, and safety matters more than comfort. The safest heat is the heat you already have. Your body heat kept inside good insulation, plus warm drinks and steady calories. After that, the next safest heat is a properly installed, properly vented heater designed for indoor use. If you have a wood stove, pellet stove that can run without electricity, or a fireplace that is functional and safe, it can heat a room well, but only if it's already set up for that use. Don't try to improvise a stove setup in a blackout. If you have an indoor rated propane heater, follow the manufacturer's instructions exactly, including clearance distances and ventilation guidance. Use a battery-powered carbon monoxide alarm if you have one, and keep fresh batteries for it in your Prepper Essentials kit. Never use a charcoal grill, campfire, or charcoal burner indoors, or in an enclosed garage, because carbon monoxide can build up fast, and you often won't notice it in time. Also avoid using a gas oven as a room heater. Use cooking appliances for cooking only, and only with ventilation, because the fumes and moisture add up. Candles are mostly for light. They add a tiny amount of heat, but they also add fire risk, especially in a room full of blankets and plastic sheeting. If you use candles at all, keep them on a stable, non-flammable surface, away from fabric, and never leave them unattended or use them while sleeping. If your goal is warmth, you get more results from improving insulation and reducing volume than from adding a small flame. For controlled warmth without heating the air, use heat that you can contain. Hot water bottles, tightly sealed containers filled with hot water, or purpose-made heat packs can warm hands and feet and make sleep much easier. Heat water using a safe method available to you, like a properly vented gas range if your home still has gas service. And keep that heating activity separate from your sleeping area. Put the hot water bottle near your feet or core. Wrap it so it doesn't burn skin, and don't use thin disposable bottles that can leak. Chemical hand warmers can help too if you already have them in your prepper stockpile, especially for kids' hands and feet, but follow their instructions and don't put them directly on bare skin for long periods. One more piece people forget: air quality. Anytime you burn fuel, you must plan ventilation, even in cold weather. That can be as simple as cracking a window slightly for a short time while the heater is running, then closing it once you turn the heater off. But only do what the device instructions allow. The goal is to avoid turning your warm room into a low-oxygen, high-fume space. Warmth is good, breathing is not optional. Number 7. Food, water, and routine. In a long winter outage, warmth is not just a heater problem, it's a fuel and routine problem. Your body makes heat by burning calories, and it makes heat better when it's hydrated. That means you want steady food, not just snacks. Go for slow, dense calories. Oats, rice, pasta, beans, lentils, nut butter, canned fish or meat, shelf-stable soups, and anything you can eat cold if cooking becomes unsafe or complicated. Warm drinks help morale, but they also help comfort because they warm you from the inside and encourage hydration. If you can safely heat water, do it, but keep cooking simple to reduce mistakes. Cold weather is when people get careless because they're tired and their hands don't work as well. Set a routine that keeps the warm room stable. Do cold trips on a schedule, not constantly. For example, 1 trip in the morning to check the house, 1 trip in the afternoon, 1 trip at night, and only extra trips if needed. On those trips, check for freezing risks like exposed pipes in very cold areas, and check if any door or window has blown open. If you have water stored, keep at least some of it in the warm room so it doesn't freeze. If you have a lot of water, rotate jugs so you always have liquid water available. Also bring batteries and devices into the warm room because cold temperatures reduce battery performance. Keep phones and power banks close to your body or inside a sleeping bag at night if the room is very cold. If you have a small battery radio, that's one of the most useful emergency preparedness tools in a long outage because it lets you track weather updates and restoration info without burning phone battery. Manage moisture like it's part of heating, because it is. Breathing, cooking, and wet clothes add humidity, and humidity can make cold feel worse and can create condensation on windows and walls. If you notice dampness, do short ventilation cycles when it's safe, even if it feels counterintuitive. Also avoid sweating. If you do quick movement to warm up, keep it light. Slow squats, light marching, gentle stretching, just enough to keep circulation going. The moment you sweat, you've created a new problem, because damp clothing chills you fast when you stop moving. A simple clothing approach works best. A thin base layer, an insulating middle layer, and a wind-blocking outer layer if the room is drafty. Keep a warm hat and dry socks on, especially at night. If your feet are warm, everything feels more manageable. Number 8. Staying warm for days. After the first night, the game changes a little. You're not only trying to get warm, you're trying to stay stable and avoid slow mistakes. Keep improving the warm room in small ways. If you notice a cold corner, add another layer of fabric or move your sitting area. If a draft starts, seal it. If the plastic on the window loosens, retape it. Small fixes add up. If you're caring for family, do regular warmth checks that are practical and calm. Are hands warm? Are toes warm? Is anyone shivering hard? Is anyone acting confused or unusually sleepy? If someone can't get warm even inside the warm room, add insulation first, then add safe heat if you have it, and consider moving them closer to the warm zone or sharing body heat through layered blankets. Pay attention to warning signs of cold injury. Severe, ongoing shivering, confusion, clumsiness, or slurred speech can be signs that someone is getting too cold and needs active warming and possibly medical help. Numb, pale skin that won't warm up can be a frostbite concern, especially on fingers, toes, ears, and nose. In a long outage, it's smart to know your leave triggers ahead of time. If indoor temperatures are dropping too low to maintain safe body warmth, if you can't keep water from freezing, if you can't keep air safe while heating, or if anyone in the home has a medical condition that makes cold especially risky. This is also where community matters. If it's safe to do so, check on neighbors, especially older people or anyone living alone, because long winter outages hit them hard. From a prepping and survival angle, mutual support often beats solo gear. If you have a vehicle and roads are safe, it can be a backup warming option, but never run a vehicle in a closed garage, and don't treat it as a primary plan because fuel runs out and conditions change. For the house itself, protect what you can without spreading yourself thin. Open cabinet doors under sinks in the coldest parts of the home, only if it helps warm air reach pipes, but don't sacrifice your warm room stability to do it constantly. If a pipe does freeze, that's a maintenance problem for later. Your first job is keeping people warm and safe now. Keep your warm room supplies organized like a small station. Light, water, food, warmth layers, a place to sit, and a clear safe area around any heat source. If you're new to prepping, this is a solid beginner's guide mindset. You're building a simple system that works the same way every hour, even when you're tired. The calmer and more repeatable your setup is, the fewer risky choices you'll make, and the easier it is to ride out a long blackout without power while still keeping one room reliably livable.